All right, in this video, I'm going to be talking about the advantages for House Ecaz, one of the new factions for the Ecaz and Moritani expansion. So we see here Archduke Armand Ecaz, he's the head of House Ecaz, and this is a character that is from the extended novels. That would be the House Atreides, Harkonnen, and Carino books, as well as Paul of Dune, and that covers the War of Assassins between Ecaz and Moritani. So, this is a faction that is all about fostering strong alliances. So, they're going to start the game with 6 forces in the Imperial Basin, which is the one desert territory on the map that is protected from the storm, so long as the shield wall is intact. They're going to start with 12 spice and 2 free revivals. Now, one of their big advantages is their ambassadors. So they have these ambassador tokens, and they're going to start with the Ecaz ambassador and then 5 random ones. And they correspond to all the other factions in the game, except for Moritani, their sworn enemies. So the way it works is in the revival phase, at the end of the revival phase, Ecaz can spend spice to place an ambassador token in a stronghold that is not under storm and does not already have an ambassador token. The first one that they place is going to cost 1 spice. If they're going to place a second one, it's 2 spice, and etc., etc. And then what happens is very similar to the terror tokens from the Moritani. When somebody moves into a stronghold with an ambassador token, they can trigger it. Unlike the terror tokens, which are horrible for whoever triggers them, these are all pretty much good for the Ecaz player when they're triggered. So, for example, we have, the Atreides one, you get to see that faction's hand that triggers it. The Chom one lets them discard any of their treachery cards, and this is Ecaz, and gain 3 spice for each one from the bank. If the Emperor ambassador is triggered, the Ecaz player gets 5 spice from the bank. So it doesn't matter which factions are in the game, you're going to be able to use all of the tokens. So like I said, you're going to have 5 of those, and when you trigger one, you're going to turn it face down in your supply. And when all of the non-Ecaz ones are triggered, then you get to mix them up with all of the other ones and get 5 new ones. So let's take a look real quick at their leaders. So they've got a Strength 2 leader, Bendik Narvi. They've got Rivi Denari. This is a sword master from Ganaz who, after the school, the swordmaster school was attacked by the Moritani, the surviving swordmasters swore their allegiance to Duke Armand to try to protect his family. So family members include Alessa Ecaz, and then we have Sonia Ecaz, and then finally we have Whitmore Blood, and this is another one of the swordmasters that was going to protect him. So these leaders are not super high, but once again, we've got Duke Vidal, who is technically an Ecaz leader, as you can see, but he's also kind of half Moritani. So the Ecaz ambassador is the one that lets Ecaz get Duke Vidal and hold him until he's used in a battle. And then he's set aside, so they don't actually start with him in the game. He's kind of shifty, suspicious looking dude. And that's because he has sort of a dual allegiance. If we flip this over, and we get the rest of the ambassadors, and then we've got their occupy advantage. So if they're in an alliance, they can be in the same territory as their ally. And if they're collecting spice in the same territory, they can split it up however they like. And if they're in a battle, then Ecaz and their ally can decide which of the factions, which of the 2 of them is going to be the faction actually battling by playing a leader and playing treachery cards. Irrespective of which one of them is fighting the battle, it's always Ecaz's allies' forces that get dialed. And the Ecaz forces are going to count, half of them in that territory are automatically going to count at full strength in advance towards the ultimate battle total for that alliance. But then afterwards, if they have won, half of their forces there are going to go to the tanks for the Ecaz. And then they got a little extra revival thing there about getting Duke Vidal out. We have their alliance advantages is that they can have their ally benefit from one of the triggered ambassadors. And then advanced, they've got a loyalty. So they're actually going to start the game before traders are dealt. They're going to set aside one of their trader cards for their factions. So it's face up, and so it's one leader out of their 5 that is never a traitor, very loyal. And then for collection, if they are occupying those strongholds that give you an income in spice collection, if they're co-occupied, they can be in there together. The last thing I'll mention about the occupy advantage, of course, is if Ecaz and their ally are co-occupied in 3 strongholds, then they win. So it's not quite an alternate win, or not, a special win condition, but in other ways it is. So that is House Ecaz. Like I mentioned before, especially in the other Mortani video, I found this subplot in those Dune novels to be really interesting, and the factions and the characters and their personalities were just so vivid that it seemed like a great fit for Dune. So, as I like to say, we cherry-picked all the best stuff out of those extended Dune universe books, and we're leveraging them for the Dune board game. So I find this to be a faction that is a lot of fun to play. There's a lot of flexibility and variety depending on the ambassadors and how you employ them and when you decide to trigger them. We'll note that the house itself, so if you have like the Tleilaxu ambassador in a stronghold, the Tleilaxu can go into that stronghold and they will not trigger the token. So the houses themselves, plus your ally, doesn't trigger a token if they move in there. So it is other factions. So that is it for this one. Let me know what you think of House Ecaz, and if you have any questions about their advantages in the comments. That's it for this one. Thanks guys for watching, and we'll see you again soon.